In Romans 11, Paul reached a point where he has logically to conclude that God has rejected his people. And so he asks the question now, consequently, I have to ask, looking at the way back, that there were these preachers, that there is this nation that makes them jealousy, but still they reject him. I have to ask, has the one true and only God then rejected his chosen people? And he answers it vehemently, radically, impossible, never. And now he gives 3 reasons that God did not reject his people. And the first one is Romans 11, verses 1 and 2. He says, look at me, touch me, hug me, for I am also an Israelite, from Abraham's seed of the tribe of Benjamin. Never ever has the one true and only God rejected his chosen people, whom he foreknew. He knew exactly what he was doing. He never has rejected them. And I see Paul standing in front of his readers in a way. He says, touch me, hug me, grasp me. I am the visible, the touchable proof that God has not rejected his nation of Israel. Now look, throughout church history, we as Gentiles Christians might not have liked it, but throughout church history there were always these people whom we today call Messianic Jews or Hebrew Christians, or a century ago we called them Jewish Christians or Hebrew Catholics, depending on in what context we're talking about. They were always there, the Jews who realized that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah of Israel. Do you know that in the 19th century, I have numbers here in front of me. In the 19th century, there were about 200,000 Jews believing in Jesus. Do you know that before the Second World War, there were about 90,000 Jewish Christians in Hungary? Or I have a number here that there were 52,000 Jewish Christians in the Warsaw Ghetto during the Nazi occupation of Poland. Did you know that of the 6 million, maybe it was 7 million Jews that were killed by the Germans during World War II, do you know that about 250,000 of them were believers in Yeshua, believers in Jesus? So in today's talk, we would say about 250,000 of those who perished in the Holocaust were Messianic Jews. Or I remember one brother whom I met and I had the privilege to know. He told me that after World War II, about 1/4 of the Brethren congregation in Budapest were Jews who believed in Jesus. And if I go through history books, if I go through the history of the modern state of Israel, or the time around it and the churches around it, I see that there were always these, how shall I say, touchable proofs to us, Gentile believers, that God has not rejected his people. I tell you names. There was the first Anglican bishop in Jerusalem, Michael Solomon Alexander. Or there was a British prime minister in the 19th century, Benjamin Disraeli. It couldn't be more clear, even you hear it in the name. Or if you want to go into more modern times, there's a guy called Bob Dylan. A lot of people know him. He's of Jewish background and he claimed to believe in Jesus. There is a German poet called Heinrich Heine, or Felix Mendelssohn. Shall I go on? If I go into the time of Martin Luther, there was a Johannes Pfefferkorn. They didn't always love each other, but he was a member of the church. Or a lot of the things I present to you in explaining Romans 9 to 11, I have it from a very old book. I don't even know where I inherited from one pastor in Germany who died. And I learned a lot from that book, and I knew that he was not a theologian, he was a philologist, an expert in ancient languages, and his name was Friedrich Adolf Philippi. Adolf. Today a Jewish person would never call his son like that, and I realized only later on that he was baptized when he was 18. He was Jewish by background. And I can go on, people like Edith Stein or Cardinal Jean-Marie Lustiger, who was once a proponent for, or a cardinal who might have become Pope. Or I call other people Avram Polyak or Paul Taine or Margaret Gawronski, whom I personally knew. They always were people who believed in Jesus as Messiah and had a Jewish background. And what Paul says here is they are the touchable proof that God has not rejected his people.